So this week on the Interplanetary Podcast, we'll be talking about the British Interplanetary Society.
And Matt, we've got an interview with the great David Iron.
Yep, about Lunar Mission One.
Let's go.
The Interplanetary Podcast. The exploration of space for the benefit of all mankind. Your hosts here in London, Matthew Russell and Jamie Franklin.
Matt, it's only episode 14. You know what that means? It's the Interplanetary Podcast, putting the ace
Back into space. So, Jamie.
Hi, Matt.
Welcome to the 14th podcast.
This is really special. Do you want to tell people what room we're in?
We're in the British Interplanetary Society's library. Now, how ace is it?
There are one or two books about space.
Let's delve into what the British Interplanetary Society is, Jamie.
Let's get some stats up.
Let's some stats. So, the British Interplanetary Society is the oldest continually running space advocacy society in the world.
In the world?
In the world.
Okay. Nice start.
So it's pretty important up front. It was, do you know when it was founded?
I'm going to shoot with 1933.
Exactly right.
In Liverpool?
In Liverpool, exactly.
It's almost like I've done my research.
It is. By a bloke called Philip E. Cleater.
Mm-hmm.
Who basically had watched a film and thought, God, that's really exciting, when he saw some nuclear propulsion ship.
Right.
And he thought, I've got to do something like this. So he set up the British Interplanetary Society after hearing about the American version of it.
Oh, so it was almost was it a one-upmanship thing?
No, I just think he thought that
he thought it was a good idea.
Good idea, and he went over and chatted with the German version of it as well. But those two basically ended. They were going to start building some rockets, but they realised that in 1875 the Explosives Act prevented private testing of liquid-fuelled rockets.
That will do it.
So that was kind of the kibosh on any kind of British attempts at building your own rockets. And although the BIS includes the word British in its name, a bit like the Interplanetary Podcast, most of our listeners are international, and most of the BIS members are international too. So almost half are American. So in the years before World War II, a technical core of BIS members made the first plans for a rocket capable of landing 3 men on the moon and returning them to Earth.
No small feat.
It is no small feat. And funnily enough, Stephen Baxter and Simon Bradshaw wrote a story called First to the Moon, which picks up on an alternative history of mankind where the BIS moonship actually gets built.
Nice.
Yeah. So Stephen Baxter, a very well-known science fiction writer. In fact, I read his book Proxima after the Proxima discovery. And just
really?
Yeah. So
what's it like?
It's really good. It's a really good book, but what's amazing is how many aspects of the Proxima planet he gets right.
Yeah.
How near it is to the star, the fact that it's tidally locked, the fact,
It's almost like there's aliens involved, Matt.
Yeah, it's almost like he knew too much.
That's the theme tune.
Illuminati confirmed. So in the 1940s, a group had planned for a suborbital spaceflight from a converted V2 rocket known as the Megaroc.
Oh, that's a good name.
And this is a decade earlier than the Mercury Redstone flights of 1961. So, if we'd only have gone with that, instead of John Glenn, it could have been Arthur Smith or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
or Jamie Franklin.
Yeah, or Jamie Franklin's granddad.
Yeah, that's true.
Could have been the first man in, first orbital flight. Although actually, Megaroc was never going to be an orbital vehicle. It wasn't quite as complicated as Mercury Redstone.
Right.
But it was, we were making serious attempts at doing that, and the purpose of it was to go up and do some scientific measurements.
Nice.
And see if you could actually radio through the ionosphere and stuff like that.
Okay.
So Arthur C. Clarke, very famous member, and this building is named after Arthur C. Clarke, first suggested the concept of communication satellites in a private memorandum to fellows of the Society, prior to his first publication in 1945.
Nice. It's not a bad legacy, is it?
No. So far we've learnt that the British Interplanetary Society, in some sense, were the first society ever to put together to design a spaceship, essentially. So that's pretty amazing. 1951, the BIS organised the world's first international congress, or the IAF, not to be confused with last week's podcast, the FAI, the Fédération Aéronautique Internationale.
Absolutely.
So we're joined by David Iron of the Lunar Mission One project.
Hello.
What is the mission itself? What's the main purpose of Lunar Mission One?
The mission itself, you can put it into two categories. One is science, and with that, we're looking to drill deeper than anybody else before. It's uses a new technology called wireline drilling, which has challenges which we're looking to overcome, where we can drill tens of metres as opposed to a few metres. That's what's been achieved before. But with this wireline drill, we have open up the potential to go in principle to any kind of depth, and we want to try it on the moon first, under robotic control from the Earth, and that'll be a huge step towards making it work under fully autonomous conditions when you go to Mars and beyond. So that's the main scientific benefit. By going below, you can get to the rock that's laid unchanged for billions of years, and we can also do science of the surface of the moon. That's the bit where we look at what kind of the environment is at the lunar South Pole, which is where I should mention where we're almost certainly going to go. That's where we try to characterise its potential for a permanent base. Look at both the opportunities for reusing lunar material and the threats that the astronauts would face there. And we can also do a bit of science from the moon by doing a check on the prospects for low-frequency radio astronomy. So there'll be science of the moon, science on the moon, and science from the moon. That's the scientific bit. That's the bit that space agencies would recognise as good in its own right. But we also add this popular public engagement bit by saying, well, let's use the borehole for depositing a very long-term time capsule. The environment down the borehole is second to none for preservation, we think, anywhere in the solar system. Certainly that's relatively easy to get to. It's very cold. We're looking at minus 150 Celsius, that kind of thing. Perfect vacuum. Don't even have the lunar tenuous atmosphere which you get on the surface. Below the surface there isn't anything. Tiny amount of background radiation which we need to make a better assessment of, but essentially it's stable, it's protected by tens of metres of rock. The moon has very low level of magnetic field. It's less than 1% of the Earth. It has got moonquakes, but they're small compared to the Earth. And no tectonic plate movements and that kind of stuff. So our predictions are that what goes down the hole will stay there, provided it's more than a few metres, will have the potential to stay there undisturbed for something of the order of a billion years, give or take. There's a prospect of a destructing asteroid if it's big enough, fast enough and close enough. Yeah. But you can do your calculations for that, and our back-of-the-envelope calculation suggests that there's a 50-50 chance we could survive, for billions of years, and that takes us beyond what is the true limiting factor, which is the expansion of the sun and the heating up of the Earth and its moon in the sort of 1 to 2, 3 billion year time frame. So that is the ultimate failure point. But it means that, provided it's not discovered or somehow disturbed, it means that it would survive a timescale which is equivalent to the timescale of life on Earth itself. Whatever happens to us and so on, we can reasonably expect life to continue until this heat event, and whatever happens to individuals and species and so on, there'll be this thing just waiting quietly there for discovery at some point in the future. Who knows what's going to happen? Is it going to be another form of more developed form of us, or are the insects going to take over the world in 65 million years' time, or is it going to be extraterrestrial intelligence or green men? No idea.
So the archive itself is kind of like in terms of public engagement, is the really exciting part of the project.
Yes, some people like the idea of the science, some people like the idea of exploration and so on, but these are relatively small portions of people. Yeah. One of the criticisms I had when we first kickstarted, we raised $1 million a couple of years ago at the from the Royal Society announcement, mainly from the States, is that you can't kickstart a project of this size, and that's true. You can kickstart, crowdfund a $1 million CubeSat.
Yeah.
That's fine, but you can't crowdfund something of this scale,
Right.
in the order of $1 billion or so. And the reason is that there aren't enough people who are excited by space. They may disagree or may be shock horror. What you mean, there aren't lots of us? Well, there are, but it's still a small portion of the population. There are far more people who are interested in cars, in music, in sport. Even dancing and cookery gets a bigger fan base than space and even science in general. So what we've got to do is to tweak the interest and the desire and so on, and the ability to, the will to part with money for something that gets us well beyond the conventional space science community.
So if someone wants to send up a lock of hair or a digital photo, how can they do that?
Well, they just hand it in.
Right.
What we're doing is making this relevant to everybody. And what is it that interests most people more than anything else? It's themselves. So this is a very personal thing. It's also very social. That the youngsters in their 20s like to do things because it's fun. But as you get older, it's more to do with who you are, and you want to lay down a record for your offspring and their children's children and all that kind of stuff. And they can write what they like. That's the beauty. It's very much up to them. We're not quite sure what the killer app is in terms of the content. But it doesn't really matter, provided that there are enough people who want to write something about themselves. And we have two types of record. One's a public record, not owned by anybody in particular. It's owned by the public, and that's a life of a record of life on Earth, history, civilization, the biosphere, geography, species, wildlife, and so on. And we treat that as an educational project. And the model we've got from that is the BBC Doomsday Project for schools in 1985. We're essentially copying that and extending it internationally and online. But for the private bit, this is the bit that raises the money. It consists of people, as you say, handing over a strand of hair to collect their DNA. We don't process it; we just store it as DNA. It's difficult to process anyway, but we assume if somebody finds it, they'll be so interested in it.
Of course.
They'll do a lot to try and uncover it. Plus, of course, digital material itself, which is simply uploaded. So the effort you need to store your material, and this is actually very simple. You've got to do is make up something or take something you've already made and upload it. If it's digital, photographs, videos. The bigger the capacity, the bigger the file size, if you like, the more it's going to cost. But of course, there'll be economies of scale. So you might start off with $1. Hi, I'm Joe from Wisconsin. $1.
Sure.
A family history, $50. But if you want your DNA as hair, then we're looking at up to about $100 starting point, something like that. But most people from the market research we've done, or at least the numbers who provide the backbone of the economic case, are those who provide both their DNA and information, and we're looking at pricing that, according again from the market research who've confirmed this, that it's likely most people would spend in the order of a few $100s.
Sure.
Okay, not high hundreds, not tens of dollars maybe for the digital stuff. Or hi, I'm Joe. That's very cheap. But we think that most of those who can afford it will do the DNA and the information, and that it's then up to them. Do they want to put together family groups, social groups, clubs, classes? It doesn't really matter to us, provided we market it to get the maximum amount of money. And we have to be very mercenary about this. This is not do good. This is earning money. We will price it to get the maximum amount of money. The do good bit, the social bit, is the public archive. Yeah. So the public archive is inclusive. Don't need to pay. It's not about yourself as such, unless we choose to do it for particular reasons. But generally speaking, it's about society and the world we live in.
So that could be considered a kind of mankind and Earth backup disc that goes in the hole.
If people want to look at it like that, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And we'll probably, we'll almost certainly be basing it on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And there's some work going on in the background that will help us for that. How we work with it with the schools program, we don't know. So we've got a pilot program that's now started, and that will run for about 3 years or so. It'll take about 3 years to set the main project up, to get the main contracts together before we know who's going to do it. You need at least one space agency to back it in some way. There'll probably be governments involved with the educational side. We need to get some proving early revenues. In a sense, the Kickstarter backing was a test of early revenues, but we need to develop that to make it more relevant, and we need to de-risk the critical drilling technology, and all that will take about 3 years before we're ready to get to substantial contracts. And at that point, we'll know who's going to do it, how much it's going to cost, the timescales, and all the kind of things that you need to tie down, which we can only postulate at the moment.
Yeah, is the craft itself that goes to the lunar South Pole? Presumably that gets launched on a conventional space launch system. What sort of space launch system is it? What sort of estimated weight of craft is it going to be? Is it going to be something that needs to go up on one of the heavy launches? Or
there have been 3 feasibility studies so far, one by Rail Space and 2 by 2 universities, and we're looking at a dry mass on the moon of just under a ton, a metric ton, with about 150 kilograms of payload and 60 kilograms of science. The archive itself is quite small, looking at about 10 kilograms, including the canisters. Indeed, 10 million strands of hair, which is what we're expecting, is about the size and weight of a bag of flour.
And that will fly with the machine that does the digging as well.
Indeed.
Yeah.
To get it there, to land just under 2 kiloton, you need a medium lift, top end of a medium lift launch. So we're looking at a Falcon 9, that kind of thing. The decision about which launch vehicle to use doesn't have to be taken for another 6 years or so.
Yeah.
And it won't be our decision anyway. It'll be up to industry, whoever wins whether we contract with to do the mission. But you can imagine it's that kind of scale, launching 10 to 12 kilotons into low Earth orbit equivalent, probably launching it into lunar, or towards the moon, what's called TLI, translunar injection, and then the spacecraft will handle the rest. Will have its own fuel to deorbit, or at least to secure lunar orbit, and then to descend and land on the lunar surface with a tiny amount of residual fuel left.
Yeah. Sure.
And those are the kind of things. Now, whether they go direct to the moon or whether they use one of these increasingly large elliptical orbits, for fuel efficiency as opposed to time, we're not actually too fussed.
Yeah.
It's very much up to them. It's what they think is best value for money.
Yeah, well, we could go on to the 4th sign and how this thing gets signposted.
That'll probably, I suspect that'll be a subject of a...
I might need a longer one, for sure.
So in short, really, it's a mission to go to the moon, drill a hole for science, but the benefit of drilling this hole for science, it leaves you with a place to put an archive of the world and an archive of individuals. And it's the archive of individuals that essentially is the thing that pays for the mission itself.
That's correct. The private archive funds it, and our market research suggests it will, overfund it. We'll get an excess, which then goes to public good, because the whole thing is a non-profit.
Yeah.
So we'll have, with luck, in excess of $2 billion to spend on other space arts and exploration. That's what the Lunar Missions Trust is set up for. Whereas the public archive is an educational asset. Just putting this together carries enormous educational value in its own right.
Yeah, I mean, the educational thing's definitely something that people should look into. Where would people find all the information for Lunar Mission One? Where's the best place to go?
At the moment, it's on the website, although the website needs updating to give it the latest view of what's going on, which I hope to do in the new year. But those who get involved as pilot schools will talk to us direct. We will give them examples of what they can do to get going. We've already tested it with a few dozen sixth formers and younger and older. Mainly we've aimed mainly at sixth formers, but we've got quite a lot. Actually, we've had several dozen involved so far. We've had over 100 people, including primary school involved, various painting and poetry competitions and so on. But for them, they need to be aware of the project direct. So at this stage, we're not trying to go big to everybody. It's simply too early. It'll be another 6 or 7 years before the main program starts. And we need to know that the project is going to happen. At the moment, we're at risk. Only when we get to the main contracts where they're set up that we know the project is going to happen for sure. Up until then, it's a question of de-risking the technology, the revenues, the science, the education, and so on. So everyone needs to be aware that there are risks, but we're getting people who are enthusiastic enough about the idea to get involved. And a lot of the educational stuff doesn't really need a mission, it just needs the idea of the mission for people to, kids in particular, to start doing things.
And if you were a betting man, when would you say is the year that you might actually see this take off?
We think it'll be 2025.
Sure.
Again, it'll be confirmed. It may be 2026. 2024 we announced 2 years ago as the most likely date. I think we've missed that. But it really depends on the drilling. The drilling is what we call in project management terms the critical path.
Sure.
So if the drilling takes longer, then the launch will be delayed. If the drilling can be done more quickly, then we can bring the launch date beforehand.
Right.
Conceivably 2023, but that would be very unlikely. 2024 is still possible. 2025 is more likely, and then 2026 or even beyond. We're not dictated by timescale, at least not at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, what I really like about the whole project is that it represents that whole move into a commercial space sector where the public and commercial companies can get involved in something that's actually quite inspiring, newsworthy and inspiring on a kind of large space event. I
like to think of it as not man on the moon, but men and women in the moon.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks very much for joining us, David. I know that we've got to get on and actually do this thing, the next bit. So thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks very much for your time.
It's been a pleasure.
So, Jamie, did you have some fun down at the BIS?
Oh, it was so much fun. The library blew my mind. I can't get over the amount of geeky but amazing books they had.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's basically one of the most profoundly ace libraries in spaceflight. Literally books going right the way back to 1933. It's crazy.
Tell you what, it was impressive stuff, and impressive people were just mingling around. I think we had someone from NASA pop in at one point, didn't they?
Yep, popping in on holidays to check out the BIS.
I mean, if anyone's going to disturb your podcast, I'd love it to be someone from NASA, so that was fine.
It was awesome. Yes, in some of those interviews that we will be playing, you'll be able to hear people shuffling around. That's actually... it's a busy place.
It is a busy place.
In fact, you can hear like bells and whistles all through that. So we've retreated back to our normal...
we're in our little cave again.
We are in our little cave. So we were halfway through telling people about the BIS, I believe.
We were, yeah, that's right.
when we had to do our interview. So I think we got to the fact that in 1978, the BIS, one of its most famous projects was Project Daedalus.
Yes.
Which we've talked about on our Interstellar Probe episode when we were talking about Proxima C.
That's right.
And how to get there. And Project Daedalus was a pellet-driven nuclear pulse fusion rocket.
Yes.
That accelerated to 12% of the speed of light.
12%, people.
And in the 8th episode of the classic series by Carl Sagan of Cosmos, he actually has some brilliant drawings of Daedalus that he gets out. It's the episode where he's in the Museum of Leonardo da Vinci.
Aha, yes.
Yes, and he's got all of Leonardo da Vinci's flying machines around him, and on the table, drawings of Daedalus. It's a really, really amazing episode.
Do you know, I watched last Christmas, I had the flu, and my mum had the flu, and we both watched Cosmos. And so I think, another year on, we might have to revisit it.
Oh my God, so
hopefully
good.
Not as sick this time, but, got to revisit the Sagan.
Yeah, and Carl Sagan actually did visit the BIS.
Oh, okay.
On May the 3rd, 1974, he gave an evening talk about extraterrestrial intelligence.
Blimey, I bet that was one to be at.
Yesterday, unfortunately, was the sad 20th anniversary of his returning to stardust.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice to remember the absolute legend.
We should one day maybe dedicate an entire episode to Carl Sagan, because I think
it would be rude not to. That's a good idea.
And later on in the BIS history, they actually started thinking about Mars as a mission.
That's right.
So way back in 1980, one of the BIS's sort of linchpins is a chap called Bob Parkinson, who's legendary in space flight circles. He's designed some of the most amazing rockets there are, including I believe he was involved with Ariane 5, which we've just heard take off just now.
Absolutely.
So and he wrote a paper on how to get to Mars using I think he was using sort of bits of the space shuttle kind of infrastructure. And he basically he wrote an entire paper on how to get to Mars for 1995. So he only thought it was going to take a decade. So this going to Mars thing's been around a long time. But one of the very first really serious sort of feasibility studies was Bob Parkinson's Mars in '95.
I think Elon needs to give some tips of the cap. Back to a few people.
And one that we have talked about is Project Icarus, the Z-Pinch nuclear fusion rocket, one of the current projects that the British Interplanetary Society is involved with
absolutely
Tau Zero Foundation. And let me tell you one interesting fact. Brian Blessed, according to his biography, got his job on the Star Wars film that he did, The Phantom Menace, because George Lucas heard that he was a member of the British Interplanetary Society and was so impressed, he just said, "Here you go, Brian, here's a job. There you go."
I'd like to think that that's true. I think it's probably because he watched Flash Gordon and was just blown away.
Gordon's alive!
Didn't you actually hear him say that in the flesh?
Oh, no, I actually went to see Flash Gordon at Somerset House, and Brian Blessed was sat behind me for the entire film, shouting out his lines. It is definitely it's definitely one of my favourite cinema experiences.
Yeah, that's going to be hard to be topped. Incredible.
Oh, amazing. I saw Rogue One last night as well.
Oh, Matt, it's amazing, isn't it?
Oh my God, it's so good.
For me, it's the best Star Wars film since Empire Strikes Back, for sure.
You know what? I'd actually agree with that. It's really, really brilliant. I can't really think of many flaws in it. It's excellent.
It's absolutely amazing. Loved it.
Yeah, so that's definitely one to go see. I thought it was brilliant.
Agreed.
So let's have a bit of news. What's been happening in space? Jamie, have you got any news?
Well, there's a few things going on. We've got ExoMars 2020.
So it's been given the full go-ahead. ESA and Thales Alenia Space signed a contract on the 16th of December that secures the completion of the European elements of the next mission.
Nice.
Which includes the rover itself.
Yeah.
And also the descent module, parachute, radar, inertial measurement unit, the UHF radio elements, and the onboard computer and software. So all of that sort of stuff for the next part of ExoMars. So we've already got the Trace Gas Orbiter that's flying around, which we talked about last week, that had sort of gone through quite a few of its initial testing. It's going to be a very, very exciting mission indeed. So so it's going to go and do a bit of drilling. And the whole purpose of that mission is to see if there was life ever on Mars.
On Mars.
Was there life on Mars?
I think that there probably was. I don't think it was big life, but I think there was some life.
Big Life. That's the name of another band, isn't it? Big Life.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Not sure what they did.
No, I can't remember any of their songs.
Let's hope they're not listening. They'll be furious.
Thomas Pesquet, the ESA astronaut that's up at the moment on the International Space Station, he's going to go on a spacewalk.
Ah, nice.
Which will be the 11th European, after the 10th being Tim Peake, of course, and it's going to last up to 7 hours.
So this is going to be on the 13th of January. Are we going to be able to see this live like we were with Peake?
Almost certainly we'll see it on NASA TV, yes.
Awesome.
They are actually really cool to watch those, because you realise just how hard they work.
I honestly think that's my favourite, because you just get that you get that blackness of space. It just looks so incredible. I mean, you can't imagine what it's like out there.
So again, it's to make some repairs or to shore up the power supply of the solar panels, which is what Tim Peake was doing.
And Matt, I tell you what, talking about cool stuff, you put up a photo on Facebook a few days ago that, I'm not going to lie, it blew my mind. And this is the space laser.
Oh yeah, it blew my mind as well. The NASA Cloud Aerosol LiDAR with orthogonal polarization. That one.
Is that a new band name? Because it just rolls off the tongue.
It's my really hard password.
People need to go up on the blog and check this picture out. It's really lovely.
So basically, yeah, it is actually a satellite that fires a laser into the sea to observe plankton and how they move around. It's absolutely brilliant. It was launched in 2006.
I'm endorsing it.
And Boeing have pretty much assembled all the parts for the SLS.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's all being put together, and it's on its way to the Michoud Assembly Facility in New Orleans, or MAF, in Louisiana.
Nice work, Boeing.
Yeah, good work. And that's so hopefully we'll see SLS in late 2018. God, 2018. If it's all that it's going to be cracked up to be, I almost want 2017 not to happen so we can get straight to 2018.
Well, we can just fast forward that. That's no problem.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're having problems with your voice slowing down, but can you speed time up as well?
I can do that, Matt. See, I said that normally, but did you see that? That was quick.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I reckon with a bit of editing I can make that work. Right. So, the one story that I really loved is the Panoramic Survey Telescope and Rapid Response System, or PAN-STARRS.
Yes.
Which began observing the night sky in 2010 with a 1.8 metre telescope on the island of Maui in Hawaii. It has just released all the data, which is basically a big catalogue of stars and galaxies and nebulas and stuff like that. It's an enormous database.
Matt, to put it into perspective, how much data is this?
It is 2 billion petabytes, which is 2 million gigabytes, which is 100 times bigger than Wikipedia.
So could I get all of that information on my 16 gig iPhone?
Well, how many 16s go into 2 million?
I'm going to need to do some maths and come back to you, Matt.
The answer is no.
Or I'll tell you what, let's probably best put it on Dropbox. I think I should be sponsored by Dropbox after that little
that's
plug.
funny. It's the second time Dropbox has come up today. So I just quickly want to...
Well, it's the third now.
Well, exactly, it's the fifth. Oh my gosh!
Dear.
So let's have a quick look at the launches that happened this week. And
here we go. Let's rattle through them. Who's up first?
I'm going to go with
Please tell me it's Atlas 5.
It is Atlas 5, and I'm going to ask you a question, Jamie, and you've got to answer it. It was an Atlas 5 431. What does that mean?
Oh wait, isn't that the configuration?
Yeah.
With a 4-metre fairing, 3 solid rocket boosters, and 1 single engine Centaur upper stage.
That is absolutely right. You are.
Literally everyone is saying that I'm the thick one on this podcast.
I don't think everyone's saying that.
Well, eat that, punks.
So so 431. That's exactly right. And it launched a satellite called the EchoStar 19, or the XIX, if you want to do it in its normal Roman numerals that they like to have. It's also known as the Jupiter 2, and it's the most powerful high-speed internet broadband satellite for HughesNet in North America. Now now just to put this into perspective, this thing it's absolutely enormous. It's one of those satellites that is jaw-droppingly huge, and it took 2 million man-hours of work to build, 2 years of work, and it's going to work for 15 years up in space.
Wow.
I know.
That's the world's highest capacity broadband satellite.
Yeah. So after 32 minutes after launch, the Centaur engine managed to get it up into its super synchronous orbit, which has a low a low point of 127 miles and a high point of 40,000 miles. So that's like we said, a sixth of the way to the moon.
Yeah, that's quite high up.
I know. And it goes into this orbit, and the EchoStar's 19 onboard propulsion will then circularise the orbit to an altitude of 22,000 miles, and then the spacecraft will take 24 hours to complete one trip around the planet in a it's
almost a full day.
Yeah, so it's a geosynchronous orbit essentially. So it'll appear to be stationary. It won't be one of those ones that appears as a small dot that goes across the sky. It will just become a new star.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So isn't that amazing? 22,300 miles above the equator. Now, what I thought was brilliantly interesting was that this satellite was originally supposed to launch on an Ariane 5, like the one that we've literally just had.
Yeah.
But HughesNet wanted to get this spacecraft up into orbit as early as possible to start earning it some revenue.
Uh-huh.
And Ariane 5 launches 2 satellites at a time, and the launch slot for this year had already been used, so there was no launch slots available. So they decided to go with an Atlas 5, even though it's a lot more expensive. But there's a few savings. Obviously, they get it up there quicker. It means they can start earning money off it quicker. But also, the Atlas 5 is able to get it into this higher orbit, which means that the satellite itself uses less fuel to get up to that orbit, to its operational orbit, meaning that it stays in service longer. In other words, means that it'll earn more money. Isn't that interesting?
I like that, and I like that it's pulling its weight, you know?
It is indeed actually pulling its weight.
You know what I mean? It's like a teenager that's left home and it's finally bringing some bread home.
Oh, yeah, man. I bet it'll bring some serious bread home as well.
Oh, big time.
I don't imagine this thing was cheap.
No, absolutely not.
Honestly, Jamie, you have to see pictures of this thing. It is gargantuan. Oh no, Jamie, there was another. Yeah. Remember the Ariane Vega rocket?
Yeah.
Now the Japanese have got a similar rocket to that called the Epsilon, which has only ever flown once before.
Yeah.
In 2013, and it launched this week as well on December the 20th from the Ukinura Space Center.
Nice.
And it didn't have its 4th hydrazine fueled stage, so it's just 3 solid stages that went up this time.
Okay.
This new Epsilon rocket replaces it replaces another rocket called the MV, and it's only £23 million per launch, which is half the cost. And one of the reasons is because it only needs 8 people at the launch site compared to 150 people for earlier launches. So this thing can fly.
Why is that?
I don't know. It says it's got this thing called mobile launch control. So I don't know whether they do it on their Samsung Galaxies or something.
I was going to say, is it like where you get modern offices where most people just work from home?
Yeah.
Is everyone just Skyping in going, yeah, it's fine, 5, 4, 3, oh, I've lost connection.
I think they just do it all on their Sony smartphones. Maybe even on a Sony smartwatch. Maybe that's how they do it.
Are you trying to get some more free product?
Yeah, well, I hope so. So Sony, maybe send us some gear. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, that would be nice.
But what here's another interesting fact about this rocket is that in 2012, the Japanese Space Agency reported that they had a possible leak of the rocket's data due to a computer virus. And the reason why this is scary is because actually this Epsilon rocket actually is very, very easy to turn into an intercontinental ballistic missile. So it has proper, military use.
Yeah.
So I wonder who nicked. I mean,
I don't like what these things can do, but that certainly is 3 words that sound good together.
Intercontinental ballistic missile.
It sounds like a Beastie Boys.
Yeah, well,
track.
IBM.
Oh yeah. Dun, dun, dun.
Illuminati confirmed for the second time in the day.
Oh my God! Where's the triangle and the eye?
And today we've had an Ariane 5 launch, spectacular, brilliant, and that was carrying Star 1D1 and a JCSat 15 communication satellite. So one does broadband television over Japan for Sky, and the other one does corporate networks for Latin America.
Whoa, Ahaza!
The Japanese Epsilon satellite that went up actually was to investigate the Van Allen radiation belts.
Oh, okay.
There was supposed to be a Chinese Long March 2D going up as today as well. So I don't know whether that's happened. So I'm going to have to look that up. And later on this week, another Long March 2D. So China are just sort of just putting rockets up for fun.
They are absolutely killing it, aren't they?
No, actually, there was another. There's a rocket out there called the X-Space, EXPACE. This is a Chinese commercial rocket. Now that actually might fly before the end of the year.
It sounds familiar. I wonder where they got the idea to call it X Space.
And you should see the logo. It's quite familiar as well.
The Chinese do read left to right, so it does kind of make sense. I see the loophole that they've done there. Good.
Yeah, I think it's the KZ-11. I think is the craft that might fly. Right. So that should be really interesting because that will open up yet another new space commercial route into space.
Awesome. Well, I'm loving it.
So thanks very much for joining us, listeners.
Thank you, guys. You're saints and scholars. And I'll tell you what. Well, we'll see you next week, won't we? For what is the last podcast of 2016.
Yeah, and we'll have a big rundown of the year, and we'll have that interview with John from I4IS.
Absolutely.
So, in the meantime, have a lovely Christmas or a lovely winter holiday, and we'll see you next week.
I concur. Eat, drink, and be merry, people. And if anyone wants to send me any of those green triangles that you get in Quality Street, then I'll be happy to receive them.
Do you know why Santa couldn't use the alphabet?
Go on.
Because there's no L.
Bye, everyone.
Have I ruined the entire podcast?
We promise to be better next year. We promise.
Oh yeah, no, we should definitely make that promise. Okay, we'll promise not to do weak puns.
Bye, everyone.
See
Merry
you.
Christmas.
Bye. Bye.